What was something that happened to you as a child that you didn't realize was scary, creepy, dangerous until you got older? My family's station wagon blew a flat in the middle of the night on I-95 as we exited the city of Miami. I was 5 years old and riding along with my mom, grandparent, sibling and dad, who was driving when the tire blew. It was the 80s. When the tire blew, everyone freaked out a bit. For some reason, my dad kept driving on the flat, even though we were traveling at a high speed. Eventually the tire wore down or fell off and we were riding on the rim, sparking down the freeway in the middle of the night. I remember the energy in the car turned to fear, but something was off. I was told when I was older that my dad saw a man in the center median throw a strip of nails attached to something into the middle of the highway, which my dad could not avoid. Turns out, people were using this method to rob and carjack highway drivers in the middle of the night. My dad somehow was aware of what was happening and responded accordingly by not stopping to change the tire for several miles. Luckily we had a full-size spare. We changed the tire several miles down the road and made it home safely. TLDR. My family was not carjacked and who knows what else because my dad rolled with the punches. Safety tip. If you have a blown tire in the middle of nowhere, your car will drive on the rim. I told my wife this, and that the wheels on her car were only worth $200, so if she needed to keep driving to get somewhere safe, she was only damaging $200 in parts. It saved her once. She had a flat at night and couldn't get help, so she drove a few miles to safety. One completely shredded tire, but the rim was okay and so was the wife. She wasn't even worried, since I had told her to do this. My sister's boyfriend tried to kiss me goodnight and he stuck his tongue in my mouth. I bit his tongue cause well, I didn't understand it. I was 12 and pretty sheltered about that stuff. I realized after I made out with my first boyfriend what he'd been trying to do. Edit. Since people are asking, my sister was 5 years older than me, so she was 17. If I remember right, he was a year younger, so he would have been about 16. She never found out about it. They broke up after a while but not before she lost her virginity to him and had a big pregnancy scare. I'm still not sure why he thought it was a good idea. Dude was just weird, I guess. Had massive family problems. Last I knew, he was a bisexual man engaged to a lady with 2 kids and another on the way. I still have no idea why it happened. Me and my sister hung out at his mother's place a lot because my parents were busy with volunteer firefighting. They didn't know that we were basically being used as live-in house cleaners for this guy's mother. I'm glad you bit him. Nanny was supposed to pick me up from an after a school thing I was doing. She was a bit late, so I decided to walk home. Thing is, the school was 6 miles from my house and I had to cross 2 overpasses to get there, which I did while lugging my stuffed backpack. I made it about 5 miles before getting too tired and resting next to the sidewalk near the local mall. Then this guy on a motorcycle asks if I wanted a ride. I said yes, because fuck walking in the surprisingly creepy home stretch to my house, and hopped on his bike. We ended up talking a bit and I found out he was an armored truck driver named Ray. He dropped me off at my house and that was the last I saw of him. My parents didn't find out until a few years later when he showed up at the house, asking for some cash to buy his kid a Christmas present, mentioning how he'd helped me out the time. My friend, 13/F, was apparently hooking up with the gas station worker near our grade school 35/M. I didn't realize this was creepy until much later in life. Man, I had too many friends. The girls, like that, when their older male friends started hitting on me, especially the really cute one, I felt so special. But man, he was in his 30s and I was in middle school. I stopped talking to him a little after he sent me dick pics on MySpace. The thing about underage teens going after adults for sex is that these people often feel too adult to be treated like children. And, when someone treats them like the adult they think they are, they feel pleased and happy. It often starts out innocent enough, the adult talking to them like they're an adult before the adult makes the first move on the teen and they escalate it to sex. I've seen this happen before. As a high school student, I'm almost an adult and I certainly want to be treated like one. And those adults take advantage of it. So maybe underage teens go after adults for sex. However, more often than not, it's definitely not their fault. The age of consent laws exist to protect children from these adults who manipulate them for sex because they know it's not the teen's fault. Please understand this. It is not the teen's fault. It is the adult's fault. I know I want to feel like an adult, but I'm not one. Not yet at least. It is incredibly easy for adults to manipulate us and to tell us what to do. And it's certainly not our faults when adults take this power too far. Want to be featured in my videos? Become a patron at the Patreon link in the description. Don't forget to subscribe for new videos every day. I had a kindergarten teacher who always gave me extra attention. He would bring me little gifts, hold my hand, walk me to the bathroom. After a few weeks my mom started asking me questions, and I told her how he would take me into the coat closet for special talks and would give me lots of hugs. My mom took me over to where my dad was working and had me tell him, and then we all drove up to the school and my dad beat the crap out of him. The next day I was put in a different classroom and I didn't see him at school anymore. When I was in 6th grade I walked into a math class for the first time at the start of the year and he was the teacher. It all just kind of clicked in my brain when I saw him, what he had done and might have tried to do and why my dad beat him up. Needless to say, I went to the principal and made them call my dad, and when they told us that, since nothing was ever done legally and all that, he would keep teaching and he was the only math teacher, my dad put me in a different school. I kind of like mum's mental process there. I'm going to have the kid tell dad himself, so dad will go and beat the living shit out of this guy. That's what I'm doing. Logical probably goes straight out the window when a person's kids are in question. She may not even have considered normal channels of answering this situation and instead went straight to caveman code, bad man touched child, strong dad beat shit out of bad man. Dad agree. I often hear these stories and the parents don't believe the children, so, for your sake, I'm glad your parents listened. I just wish the school did something about it. Who knows how many children he hurt. I had a similar thing happen with a swimming instructor around the same age. Because my dad beat the crap out of him, and the era of policing at the time, his sentence was lowered, may have even walked away from court with suspended sentence or something. My mum found out a few years later he was working at an all-girls school and repeatedly phones them with our story until they fire him. She was just telling me the other week that she did it for at least 2 more of his jobs where he was working with children. Wish the police did more about it though. Who knows where he got to. A relative was in the hospital and I didn't want to go, and so my parents let me stay in the car. A woman was in the car next to ours waiting in the driver's seat. A man walked up to her car door and pulled it open. I was young enough not to remember why we were at the hospital, but what he said to her is still clear in my memory. "You're gonna drive me back to your place and we're gonna fuck." I remember her yelling something along the lines of "what the fuck no," and then they started fighting. I got scared and hid where your feet go in the back seat, really not wanting this man to see me. Eventually I heard the car leave. I have no idea what happened and I never told my parents. When I told a friend he said he was probably her family member and she was crazy. That discouraged me from telling anyone. He wasn't there and didn't hear the man's vicious tone and the woman's terrified one. Riding around with my dad as he drove while so drunk he could barely walk. This happened every weekend. I saw him arrested for DUI several times and know of quite a few other times he was arrested for the same thing. This back in the 1960s and 70s. Edit. From the replies to this post I find it amazing that we all survived our childhood. I grew up in Detroit and because violence was the norm I didn't realize how terrible some of the stuff I witnessed was. I even thought, cool, a good story to tell the kids at school. One particular story is of when my neighbors across the street, a couple and the sister of the couple, got into a very violent fight. There was so much blood. The husband or boyfriend was beating his lady and kicking her all over her porch. Then when her sister came home midway, she's like, hell no, and gets a 2x4 from the alley and starts beating the crap out of the guy. He leaves and gets something else and starts beating her, and the girlfriend is just trying to break it up but she's getting hit and they're all really beaten up. I lived with my grandparents, these sweet old classic Mexican types from the country, and we just all go sit on the porch and watch what the crazy white trash neighbors are doing, and it never occurred to me to call 911 or do anything. When the cops came I remember thinking that calling them was a good idea. When I was younger we moved into a house in the woods. It wasn't completely finished yet, no screens on the windows, unpaved driveway, just dirt and rocks, etc. We also had a huge wolf spider infestation. Apparently the house was built on the headquarters of all wolf spiders in the US. Wolf spiders can vary somewhat in appearance. Some are grey and very hairy, some are brown and more smooth. Freaked out when I saw one at first, but then I thought, they look really cool, so as long as they don't bite me, it's okay. Anyways, eventually I just got used to them. Sometimes I'd see a baby wolf spider and just sort of play with it. Otherwise just let it be around while I do whatever I did as a child. Either way, they were everywhere. It wasn't until much later that I saw what young wolf spiders really looked like, and the things I had been playing around with the whole time were brown recluses. When I was 10 I was given some money to go to gas station to get some soda and candy for me and my mom. When I was walking to the store, a Mexican in an old car came driving real slow like. He asked me if I wanted a ride. I said shit yes. He starts asking me about school and stuff starts getting weird. It smells awful in his car. Later on I realized it was black velvet. So we are at a stoplight across from the gas station. I bolt. I run to the gas station and started jumping on the tube to make the bell go off. The old man who owns it came out and threatened to beat my ass until he realized the Mexican was staring at me from his car. Well, he yells some choice expletives at the Mexican and tell me to go inside. Old man calls my mom and she told me to walk home and don't drop our sodas. I could have been kidnapped if not for the surly old racist. My stepfather is a pedophile. Goodness, where do I start? I've been approached 4 times to hop into cars. Didn't think anything of it and just said no. A lady once tried to coax us across the road with some lollies. Lucky our friend's mum was there. I nearly drowned while trying to keep up with the adults in the ocean. I jumped off the roof of our house onto our trampoline. Definitely not a smart idea. My mum nearly killed us all when she drunkenly forgot to turn the gas stove off before passing out. I was in a taxi with my mum when a taxi almost took off with me inside when mum hopped out. My brother started a fire when he was 2 and I a newborn. I was in my cot and he snuck matches into my room. Started a fire then hid in the cupboard. I was in a serious head-on car incident and thought my dad was doing donuts. We had someone break into our house that we just moved into. They had bats, etc. My brother hid me in a cupboard while my parents kicked ass. Never mess with a feisty Asian lady and naked fat man. What else? Oh, the first time swimming in a beach in Australia. I swam with a swarm of blue bottles. I had stings everywhere including inside my throat. I'm sure there are plenty more. I was groomed into a cult by my extended family and didn't realize it was wrong or anything until I was handed over to my rapist as part of a rite. It's been a little over 25 years and as an adult I fucking cannot set foot in a church or be near churchy people without panicking. Want to be featured in my videos? Become a patron at the Patreon link in the description. Don't forget to subscribe for new videos every day. Thank you for watching. Smash that like button like it's a thick booty. And don't forget to subscribe to OKPJ Dark if you like nice things, like new videos every day. See you tomorrow.